Today, we're going to be talking about the healing power of affirmations, and we're not just going to be talking about this in a philosophical sense. We're also going to be getting down to the nitty-gritty, talking about neurolinguistic programming, neuroscience, placebos, and all of the topics that can help you best use affirmations to feel your absolute best 100% of the time. For so many people, when I share affirmations with them, they might kind of giggle at first. When we start this spiritual or healing journey, or whatever type of journey that you want to call your own journey here, it's your journey. You can call it whatever you want to call it. Affirmations can be a little bit triggering actually for a lot of people. I used to work in addiction recovery, and sharing affirmations with people of all different types of backgrounds who had all different sorts of issues that they were experiencing. And everyone has a different approach or feeling to an affirmation. One affirmation might work really, really well for one person, but not so well for another person. And in this video, we're going to be talking about exactly why that is and how you can use affirmations to actually heal yourself and feel your absolute best. So many people often think that affirmations, speaking words into yourself in your mind or out loud, it's like wizardry, it's weird, things like that. And I just want to preface by saying, like, yes, it can be really weird if you haven't done something like that before, but it's so valuable to try out these practices so that you can experience the full spectrum of yourself and really become the full embodiment of the person that you're meant to be in this lifetime. So the first time that you start using affirmations, you're probably not going to feel like they're the best practice ever and something that you're going to want to use all of the time. I'm just imagining someone like going up and standing in front of the mirror for the very first time and saying, I am the most beautiful person in the world. I'm so wealthy. Everyone loves me, right? If you don't believe those things about yourself, then saying that out loud, it's going to be really, really uncomfortable. And what's actually happening in the brain when that happens is that you're coming across a trigger, or for lack of better terms, you are coming up to one of your own walls, one of your own limitations. And maybe this is something that you haven't been able to be aware of before. And it's not until you actually call yourself beautiful that you realize that little voice inside of your head most of the time is telling you the exact opposite. So sometimes when we say affirmations, we can feel really, really uncomfortable because we can realize just how different the frequency of that affirmation is in comparison to the things that we've been telling ourselves for so long. Telling yourself that you are a millionaire when you have $10 in your bank account can be really, really uncomfortable, right? And so the goal is not to force ourselves to believe that we are a millionaire when in reality we only have $10 in the bank account. The goal is to find an affirmation that is at the edge of your comfort zone. So your comfort zone is kind of like an energetic container. And maybe what's been comfortable for you for so incredibly long has been not calling yourself beautiful, but instead being like, oh, wow, my nose is so big. I need a facelift. I need this. I need that. Maybe that is your regular internal dialogue. And so calling yourself beautiful feels so uncomfortable because it's so far out there. It's too far outside of our comfort zone. So maybe we can start by swapping out our regular internal dialogue, which is pretty self-deprecating, and swap that for an internal dialogue that could be a little bit more empowering. Maybe instead of calling our nose big and talking about all of the flaws that we see in our face, we can start to tell ourselves things like, I look exactly the way that I was designed to look, exactly the way that my DNA wants me to look. I'm so grateful to have two nostrils that breathe, two eyes that can see, two ears that can hear, things like this. So often I work with young women who want to change their lips with like the Kylie Jenner lip trend, lip fillers, things like that. I actually personally fell into this trend many, many years ago myself. It's been so long since I have done anything cosmetic to my face because now I use affirmations, how I'm sharing with you in this video. But for those of us who are feeling insecure about the size of our lips, instead of focusing on the size, focusing on that insecure thing, focus on the fact that your lips help you eat food every single day. Focus on a different thing that they allow you to do and start just introducing a different internal dialogue to yourself. This is going to be difficult because when the brain has been doing things for so long, it's hard to do a different thing. I like to think of neural pathways, which are the cells in our brain. They're really, really long cells and they send messages very far distances to each other, but very, very quickly. And that's how our brain works. The brain is a giant muscle. And it works using these neurons and these neural pathways. And I like to think of these neural pathways kind of like walking in the snow. When you have been walking, let's say, to your cabin in the snow, and you take the same exact route every single time you get from the car to the cabin, what's naturally going to happen is it's going to create a really, really deep, excuse me, a really, really deep trail, right? It's going to be so deep in the snow. And let's say one day you decide that you want to take a different route to get to your car, an even faster route or a better route or a route that has more scenery or something like that. So you go out and you walk a new trail on top of the snow. And the next day comes around and you're like, ooh, that trail was really awesome. I'm actually going to try that second trail, the new trail, again. But it snowed the night before, so you don't even see that new trail. Every single day, it's going to be so much easier for us to fall back into those old habits, to fall back into the things that we are so comfortable telling ourselves, maybe the things that our parents told us, maybe the things that we heard in our childhood or things like that. And because we've heard these things for so long, they're like very, very deep trails in the snow. And every time we go to sleep, every time we do anything in our life, it's kind of like it snows in our brain. And those new trails that we've been working hard to create the day before might be completely invisible all over again, but that deep trail still exists. So this is why it's so hard to break free of those patterns and those habits that we find ourselves in. And this is why when we are unconscious of the things that we're telling ourselves, we don't even realize those deep trails that exist in our mind. So you might start to use affirmations for your healing process and your healing practices and realize that it kind of takes some hard work. It takes hard work to remember these affirmations. It takes hard work to create these affirmations and to actually tell yourself something new. I say affirmations when I'm out loud. I say affirmations out loud whenever I'm at the gym, if I'm going on a walk, even if I'm just alone. I love to use my voice, or I'll say these things in my mind and I'll keep my mind on a loop. And I purposefully force my brain to stay on that loop in order to create that new path. And this is not a super, super easy process or a walk in the park process, but the alternative is continuing to be unconscious of the ways in which we talk to ourselves, the ways in which we live our life internally, and therefore we can't control our habits or our behaviors. So if you really, really want to see a change in your life, to feel like the best version of yourself, to be in control of the things that you do every single day, the ways that you respond to people, even unconsciously, then it comes down to actually gardening, for lack of better terms, our own neural pathways, actually going in there and pruning the things that are not supporting us and elevating our mind and elevating it to a higher frequency. And when we do this, you're actually changing your brain. You can look this up. The pineal gland actually changes when you work on using affirmations, when you work on rewiring your mind or deconstructing old patterns and old neural pathways, how we're talking about. And all of this happens. Like you actually change your brain, you make yourself more intelligent and expand your brain's capacity for knowledge when you are able to be consistent with your affirmation practices. That's all it takes. And it creates this insane transformation in your whole entire life, in your practices, in your habits, in your relationships, in your health, in everything. And you don't have to lie to yourself in order to create this transformation. You don't have to try to speed this transformation up or even focus on the transformation at all. All you have to do is focus on how you talk to yourself every day. And when I first heard that, I was like, I don't talk to myself. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I'm not someone who talks to myself, because it's so unconscious, the things that we say to ourselves. But the brain is always going, it never stops. So even right now, as I'm talking to you, my brain is talking to me. And as we're cleaning the house, the brain might be talking to us about how we're doing a good job or a bad job or anything in between. It's constantly evaluating us, constantly trying to notice if we are in danger or not. So our brain is always working. And when we can become conscious of the mind, the body, and the soul or the spirit, and how these things can actually work together as opposed to working against each other, that's when we can feel so grounded and so harmonious in our life. That's where people talk about feeling in flow and in alignment in their soul purpose and things like that. It comes from really being consistent with these little practices and knowing that they're going to pay off for you so, so deeply in the long run. But you don't have to focus on how much you struggle with inconsistency or starting that new habit, or how you keep lashing out at this person, or how you're just unable to lose weight, or whatever it is that you're struggling with. All we have to focus on is the things that we're telling ourselves and start to elevate those statements. So elevating the statements is like bringing them up one ladder rung at a time. So if you're telling yourselves that if you are telling yourself that your lips are too small, maybe the next thing to tell yourself is that your lips work perfectly to help you eat food and do all of the things that you need to do. And then the next thing that you can tell yourself is perhaps that your body, your muscles, everything in you is on your team and is rooting for you. And your immune system and every part of you just wants you to be healthy and happy and blissful and successful and abundant. So that statement is much different than my lips are too small. But we're not going to get there if we don't take it up one ladder rung at a time, 1 degree of frequency at a time. That's how we raise our overall frequency. And when we can raise our overall frequency, everything in life is so much easier and so much better. I used to operate at a really, really low frequency, and this is how I was able to change so many different things in my life, how I was able to heal my chronic illness symptoms, how I was able to overcome my PTSD, and so many of my own limitations and setbacks that were not necessarily like my fault, but they were part of my own struggles that I was handed in this lifetime. And these are the ways that I actually overcame those struggles. And this isn't to say that like I don't have PTSD anymore, or another thing that I was diagnosed with is PMDD. And these aren't really things that just go away like that, right? They're not going to go away in a 21-day affirmation challenge or something like that. And that's why I don't offer this type of stuff, because even though it could be fun to say affirmations for 21 days straight, and even though it could really elevate your frequency, this journey of really deeply healing yourself and aligning your mind, your body, and your soul, it's going to take a little bit longer than just 21 days. It only takes 21 days to form a new habit, to form one new neural pathway. And in order to experience a higher frequency and more alignment in general in our life, we're going to need a few new neural pathways. So it's going to take a little bit of time. but the time is going to go by anyways. And it's something that I learned when I started learning about neurolinguistic programming and neuroscience is that the brain is always working, right? So that means that if we are not trying to steer the brain in a direction that's going to help us in the long run, then the brain might be steering us in the opposite direction. So you're never truly stagnant. You're either moving in the positive direction or in the negative direction. And remembering this is so, so important for me because that is my inspiration to pray, to meditate, to say my affirmations, to do my healing work, because it really, really does make a difference. And it's hard to stay motivated and inspired to do these activities all the time. So that's why I'm here sharing this video with you so that you can know that there's so much more to affirmations and listening to a meditation than just doing it for 10 minutes or 20 minutes or something like that. What you're doing by listening to a 20-minute affirmation is you're exposing your brain, your 10% conscious brain, as well as your 90% subconscious brain, your instincts, and all of the parts of you. You're exposing it to a higher frequency. And when you do this, you have the ability to elevate your frequency to come up with affirmations that could better help you to be more creative, to be more connected to your own energy and inspiration, et cetera, et cetera. And all of this is so healthy. This is what it is to be a healthy person. And I truly believe that the healthier that we are mentally, physically, and spiritually, that the better that we look, that the better our life is, the better our bank account is, the better our relationships are, the better our parenting is. It all comes from us and our frequency. And so often, we don't even realize how negative of a dialogue we have until we come across an affirmation video or until we come across a video like this where we're actually sitting and talking about frequencies. We don't really realize how negative a frequency we have sometimes because we surround ourselves with people who match our frequency. So a lot of the time I'll work with people who will talk to me about not knowing if someone's in a trauma bond with them or something like that. And for the sake of this video, I'm just going to say that for now, I can talk about that in a future video, but for now, we're going to say that that doesn't really matter. And we're just going to think about the fact that you only attract the things that are in your frequency. So your friends are not going to be a very good thermometer for you of what frequency you're in because they're going to validate you at your frequency. So if you tend to complain about your problems instead of find solutions for your problems, it's probably the same for your friends. It's probably very similar for your family, and the people that you've come from and the people that you've lived alongside and things like that. So it's going to be hard to learn from these people a new method. It's going to be hard to learn a new method yourself while being in connection with these people. And I don't say this to say that you need to completely self-isolate or not have any friends. You definitely need to have friends. Community is one of the most healing things in the entire world. Community itself is medicine. It really, really is. But in this process, we need to work on ourselves. And this is going to be something that there isn't much to show for it, like doing affirmations every single day for a year, 5 years, 10 years. You don't get a plaque. You don't get big muscles because you were just going to the gym and doing all of this stuff, right? You don't get something in this physical world. And that's why so many people do not do the spiritual work. So many people ignore their mindset work and ignore the fact that they often are complaining about their problems rather than finding solutions or bonding about negative things or things like that. So many people stay stuck in this, and it's very, very common. So just by doing the best thing for yourself, just by telling yourself that you love yourself, you are literally going against the grain of society and blazing a path for yourself. And this takes energy. And this is why this self-love journey, like there's self-love coaches like myself and so many others and people who make videos about this stuff, because this is a journey. It's not just something that you're like, oh, self-love, like oh yeah, let me go get that thing. When I first learned about self-love, I was really, really young because I started therapy at a really, really young age. And I thought it was just like this thing that you put in your cart at the grocery store. Like, oh yeah, let me just like go get my self-love. Let me just tell myself some affirmations and then it's just all good. But that's not how it is. The practice of actually loving yourself is actually giving yourself the patience and the time and the grace to move up those ladder rungs of sorry, just like bit something weird. Had a weird feeling in my tooth. Wow, weird. But it's to actually give yourself the patience and the grace to move up those ladder rungs at a pace that feels comfortable for you, to be able to nurture yourself at every single level of this journey. And if you are here on this planet, or if you're here watching this video, then you are in this journey of raising your frequency. It's going to be happening naturally as you make changes that are best for yourself and best for your family, as you do things that make you feel healthy and aligned. All of this is designed to help you raise your frequency. So, if our frequencies are meant to grow and rise throughout our lifetime, my philosophy is that we can speed up this process and gain even more of what is for us and what is in our highest destiny by really working on ourselves. And knowing that you are worth it every single day, even when no one's watching, even when you don't get a gold star or any sort of accolade in this world, that your spiritual health is so, so important. Your mental health is so, so important. And all of these things work together to making you feel healthy and aligned and like the absolute best version of yourself. So I'm really happy to be sharing all of these practices with you here today because self-love is complicated. Using affirmations is a little bit more complicated than it seems. But I'm going to share in the description box below and in the show notes some of my absolute favorite affirmation videos that I listen to every single day. I share a practice of the week every week inside of our exclusive community where I also go live and we get to practice together in real time. I actually just did that today, and it was one of the most beautiful classes that we had ever done. I feel like every single week our classes just get more and more potent, and you guys have better questions, and it just gets our conversations get even better and more fun and just so, so enjoyable. And I love it. I also wanted to share with you that this journey does not need to be mastered in just one video, right? And I'm here to help you through this process. I've absolutely just bit myself again. I've absolutely dedicated my life to being in my own soul purpose and sharing all of the practices that have helped me achieve inner peace, going from PTSD and just extreme stress and extreme chaos to feeling like you're in your complete alignment and flow every single day. And there's so many parts to this. Some people talk about their attachment style or their feminine energy. There really are so many different aspects to this journey. So I want you to know that wherever you're at in this journey, I have helped thousands and thousands of individuals all over the world, and I have space to support you if you feel called to work one-on-one together. I offer both weekly sessions as well as monthly sessions inside of our signature program. I also have a plant medicine guidance program, which is really exciting. And so there will be more information about that coming soon. And yeah, there's a lot of really fun stuff going on behind the scenes over here in my amazing world. So I strongly encourage you to check out the description below, to give this video a thumbs up if you haven't already. Make sure that you're subscribed, and please comment if there's anything else that you want to learn about affirmations or your spiritual journey or your healing journey. I really want this channel to be as interactive as possible and to make sure that I'm always posting material that's going to really be useful for you at this point in your spiritual journey. So I want you to know that your voice is welcome here. Your energy is more than welcome here, and I'm so grateful for it. Thank you for taking the time today, and I look forward to hearing your comments. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye, everyone.